Hello guys, welcome to the first episode of the How to Draw Soldiers series. Now today we are just going to be looking at how to draw pretty much what is like the skeleton of every single one of my drawings. So we're not looking at any soldier from any particular time period. This is basically pretty much just how to do like proportions of people when you're drawing people that are 2 centimeters tall. I'm not kidding. But what we're looking at here is pretty much the frame of what I then put on all of my details and my uniforms onto. So what will start out as this will eventually end out as this. So without further ado, maybe grab a pencil and preferably a rubber and let's get into this. So first of all, we're going to look at what I kind of like to call the NPC stance. It's basically the most simple way you can draw a person, pretty much like an advanced stick person. So I find that whenever you draw something, it's always nice to have a little bit of a floor for your drawing to go on, just so you know that your drawing is not going to end up wonky. So then you decide how tall you want your person to be, and in my case, I want him to be about 2 centimeters tall. So we're going to start at his waist and we're going to draw it about 1 centimeter away from the line, because the waist is like the middle of the body. So the torso and the head should be the same length as the legs. So now we sort of come in a tiny bit for the hips, and then the rest of the body we pretty much go out until we reach to this point, and then we come in for the shoulders. Now, since I always draw armour and clothes on my people, I tend to sort of join the 2 shoulders up with almost like a neck of a t-shirt, just so I know where to put things like collars and stuff. From here, we just add in a bit of a neck, always useful for breathing and stuff. And then a head, which is pretty much just an oval with like a sharpened point at the end. And it is kind of quite helpful when you're drawing the person to divide the face in 4. So you know where to put the eyes and the nose and everything else. Now if you want, you can divide the torso up, so you have a line down the middle, and then pretty much where the rib cage kind of stops almost, or the rib cage should sort of come down here, but yeah. So now we'll look at legs. So first of all, it's good to give them hips, because they're good for, walking and stuff. I might just draw a little bit of a line down the middle, just so I know where to put the legs now. The space you've got left, to mark out the halfway point, because that is how far down you need to go for the 2, like your thighs pretty much, and then you do the legs under that, which should be kind of thinner. So your thighs, they get bigger as they come towards the body, and when they meet at the groin, and they become thinner until they get to the middle of this, which will be the knee. So then with the legs, I usually do the the back of the leg muscles, and then they get thinner as they come towards the ankles, and then my feet usually come over the line, which I don't know why they do that, they just kind of do. So yeah, you shouldn't really have to do this because this person is just standing straight, but it might be good to mark out the almost like the bones in his leg, just to make sure that you haven't drawn a leg that's wonky, because if you think about it, the bones in the legs, they're pretty much completely straight, so you shouldn't have a leg that sort of does that, because that's probably not good. So now we'll do the arms. So it might be good to put some little joints in these shoulders, and then we'll put the bones on his arm, another joint, and then we'll do the forearms. And then I usually just leave like a little circle for the hands, because hands they're quite unique things to draw, and I don't like doing them all the time, so I'll come back to them. So similarly with the legs, we start off at the shoulders, the arm's got to be quite thick, and then as it comes down towards the elbow, it gets thinner, and then same here more or less, so it's thick at the elbow, and then it gets thinner and thinner towards the wrist. Notice that where the hands fall, it's almost about halfway down the thigh, a little bit above halfway down the thigh. They shouldn't stop at the hips, unless he has tiny arms. But realistically speaking, they should kind of come down halfway to his thigh. So that's pretty much it. But if you notice that he does look kind of boring because he's just sort of standing straight. So when it comes to drawing a soldier, someone that's in a bit of a bad, scary environment, you probably don't really stand like a piece of toast. So we're going to look at some slightly more interesting ways to draw your skeleton people. So as always, you start with your floor and then, measure how high you want your dude to be and then put a point at half of that way. I've already gone through this, so I'll just do this really quickly. Boom, magic. For the purpose of this demonstration, I've just gone and made him out of fine liner. So we're going to go over how you make someone hold something, because unless you're in Stalingrad, people don't send you into battle without any weapons. So as we did the arms before, we'll start off by doing balls in the shoulders, and then I'm only going to do the top of the arms first. Now, I'm going to give this man like a small gun. He's not going to be aiming it or loading it, he's just holding it. So of course, the majority of the population will have their trigger hand as their right hand, so we'll put that hand down there, and then the other hand will sort of hold the barrel. So this should kind of be not exactly like a 90-degree angle, but fairly, and then this sort of carries on roughly straight with a little bit of change, and then we can just join the hands up with a line. And so that's basically his gun, pretty much. So yeah, alternatively we could make him hold it a slightly different way. So we could bring the gun up this way, say this was like a much a bigger musket. Yes, that's English. We make him hold it like that. Sorry, I can't really speak English and draw at the same time. As you can see, the only difference is really by making the left arm sort of at a V, we've made his gun sort of go diagonally across his body. There are a couple of ways you could do this. For example, if we bring this arm down ever so slightly, so it's more of an open angle, less of a 90 degrees angle, and then we make this one more of a 90 degrees angle, then you've got the same thing, just in a slightly different variation to where his arms are. And this, doesn't just apply to guns, this could also be like a pole arm or something, so yeah. Safe to say there is quite a large variation of the ways that you can make people hold stuff. Trust me, I've been drawing for like 10 years. You can have quite a lot of fun just playing around with different angles that you put the arms at. So like this here is almost more like a guard position. Or maybe he's standing like behind someone, just keeping his gun down in order just to be safe. Right, so I think it's time we move on. So now we're going to look at how you make someone aim a gun, which is slightly different, slightly more complicated, but pretty much the same. Notice how, for this example, I haven't actually given this man any legs. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but when you fire a gun, you usually lean into the shot, because obviously it makes a lot of recoil. So what you kind of want to do is position his legs in a way that shows that he's leaning towards the direction that he's firing in. So we'll have the front one bent and the back one more or less straight. I'm quite happy with that. So with his trigger arm, we're kind of going to do a similar thing to what we did before. So working with angles, so we do one coming in sort of diagonally this way, and then we do the same up like this. Now of course the arm will be a lot thicker and larger at the top of the shoulder than it will be nearer the elbow, as I've already been through this before, but I'll just go through it again. There you go, arm one sorted. Now for the other one, we'll do his upper arm facing down, and then like we did before, we make this like V kind of thing, and then we have an arm free for him to hold the barrel. So pretty much you've got quite like a big V and then like a shrunken V here, and then from here it's pretty simple. You just sort of join up the hands with a line that goes into his shoulder, and then add a stock and handrail and stuff. I'm not really going to go through how to do a gun today. Now when you want your man to hold like a larger gun, it is slightly different but pretty much the same. Whereas with modern day weapons you can really sort of tuck it into your arms. These used to be quite long muskets, so the way you hold them is slightly different. So the angle that we draw the arm is slightly elongated, and the hand should actually come out in front of the body. Then the second arm is similar to before, but again it's sort of bigger pretty much. So you'll notice that the arms are a lot further forward than they were before. Then you just put the gun in. When it comes to holding smaller firearms like pistols, you'll tend to notice that the legs are a lot more relaxed. So because the recoil is a lot smaller, you don't really have to take such a massive stance. But then the arms come out pretty much dead straight on both sides. And then you have your man holding a pistol. The thing about drawing people with pistols is that like the centre of the body has kind of got to be closer to the edge, because really you're sort of seeing the side of their torso rather than the front, because they're facing what they're shooting at. So you should get like one leg is more sort of in front of the other. There you go, this might be a slightly better example of what I'm trying to talk about. Alright, so there's just a couple more things that I'm going to show you, and then I think that'll be it. I know this video is turning into quite a long one, but there is quite a lot of stuff to put into one video, so the drawings are getting ever so slightly more and more difficult as we go on. As you can see, the way I've drawn this torso, the centre of gravity is ever so slightly off to a little bit. He's not perfectly straight, and that is because we are doing a running person this time. So I've also done him ever so slightly from the side, so as we can see more of this half of his body than we can see of this part of his body, which is deliberate. So we're going to work with his legs first, so it kind of depends which leg you want coming out front and which one you want going back. It doesn't really matter, but what we could do, so we'll have the front one, or his left leg coming out front, and it's, you know, just sort of one diagonal line, and then we can have it coming almost down, so that's the leg that's on the floor. So if we put some just meat on his bones, because that's handy, and then the next one should kind of come down again, but then his leg flicks back. So again, if we think we've got like a V and then almost like a straight line-ish, there you go, that's one way of doing it. Alternatively, you could do it the other way, so we have this leg coming out first, so that leg's on the ground, and then this one will just sort of go behind like that. That's what it should look like after you've stuck some meat on there. It's up to you how powerful you make his run look, but don't make it too weird. Try not to get to this stage, for example, where he kind of looks like a suspicious symbol from the 1930s. But anyway, once you've got your legs how you want them to be, then it's time to do the arms, which is basically the other half of this job. So we might use the skills that I taught you at the beginning of this video to make him hold something like that, or we get him to hold something else, or of course if he's not holding anything, just put his arms like this. So the final thing is to show you how to draw someone kneeling. Now the first place that you start is because of course he's not going to be his normal height because he's kneeling on the ground. So what I would do is take someone that you are happy with the scale with, and with your line you move the person that you're happy with down to about the knees, because of course this person is on their knees, so they lose the height of the bottom of their legs. So that's where we'd start, and then you draw up to where the waist is on your person. So like that. There we go, so he is a lot smaller than what a man would usually be. So from here we would, well there's a couple of ways that we can make people kneel. The most common one, we'd put the thigh out here, and then you just have the rest of his leg coming down, and then the foot, and then the next leg is kind of like running. So you've got your angle of the leg, which is more like a V, and then the back leg is pretty much just resting on the foot. So then you give the legs all their muscle, and then we can give him something, so I don't know, gun, that'll do. The other way would be very similar, but it just makes him that little bit smaller, so he's sort of crouching a little bit further down. So the angle on his leg is a lot closed. I'm not actually making him touch the floor this time. And then this leg will come up and then down a little bit. So back towards him, if that makes sense, like this. Slap on the meat, and then of course we'll just give him some stuff to hold. But that about concludes pretty much everything that I wanted to show you in this video. I am going to do some more drawing tutorial videos before we get started into how to draw. individual soldiers from specific time periods, so like how to draw hands, how to draw faces, that kind of stuff. Maybe how to draw creases and clothing, all sorts of stuff. I have actually begun already working on like the first proper video, and it looks really cool. It's from the American Civil War, because someone asked for it. It was, yeah, one of the first requests was the American Civil War, so I've been working on that. We've got some beautiful blue Union uniforms, but that's probably not going to come out for a while, so just be patient with that. Otherwise, that's all I have to say, so thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this video helped you. If you have any suggestions of particular soldiers you want to see in the future videos upcoming, then leave them in the comment section. Otherwise, I will see you in a decade or so. I still don't have an outro.